So to make bread, I teach a lot of bread making classes, and my standard recipe for bread calls for 12 cups of grain. And we use a Bosch Universal Kitchen machine here to make our 5 loaves of bread at one time, and a Nutrimill to mill our grain. So our 12 cups of grain, I'm going to start filling up this jar here. These gallon jars are perfect for soaking grain in. And I use 3 cups of kamut. Kamut is an Egyptian grain. It's a really long grain, and it makes really nice bread. And I put the bigger grain on the bottom because then it's easier to come out of the jar. This one is Prairie Gold, and I use 6 cups of Prairie Gold wheat. It's a product of Wheat Montana Farms. It's a hard white spring wheat, and it's certified chemical-free and really an excellent grain. And then I use 3 cups of spelt. And spelt is an excellent healthy grain that nourishes you. It's an alkaline grain, so it's very good for you. And it makes wonderful bread. So this is a combination of 3 different grains, 3 cups of kamut, 3 cups of spelt, and 6 cups of Prairie Gold. And this is the amount of grain that I use in my Nutrimill to make 5 loaves of bread in my Bosch kitchen machine, or at least enough dough for 5 loaves of bread. We do a lot more than just make bread with the batch of bread, or batch of dough. But anyway, this is step number 1. Okay, step number 2 is real simple. You take your 12 cups of grain and you fill your jar up with water. Hot or cold, doesn't really matter. You just fill your jar up with water. These first 2 steps, it might take you a whole minute to do the job. So you can see it is not rocket science. It's really simple. And you just fill this jar up with water, because the goal is for the grain to about double in size and get nice and plump. And it takes about 12 hours or so for that to happen. And I just use plain water with my bread grains, and it'll plump up. And what this does, this little bit of science behind it, is that it dissolves that phytic acid coating that's on the outside of the grain. And that's the protective coating that God put on there to keep bugs and things away. It's God's natural pesticide. And so this dissolves that phytic acid, and then we just wash that down the drain. And what that phytic acid does is some people are kind of sensitive to wheat, and so they have gas issues, bloating, and they just don't feel good when they eat whole grains. And so they think, oh my goodness, I have to go gluten-free. And if you have extreme allergic reactions to gluten, then yes, you probably do need to be gluten-free. If you're celiac, yes, you probably need to be gluten-free. But if you just have a sensitivity, this is your answer to be able to eat really good, nutritious, inexpensive whole grains, is by soaking and dehydrating. So we're going to wait about 8 to 12 hours here, about 12 hours or so, for these grains to plump up and become nice and big. And then I'll show you what step 3 is.